Yo, what's up? This is episode 62, live recording of the Client by Client podcast. What's going on? Happy Wednesday. If this is your first time here, drop me a number 1 into the chat. If you're a repeat offender, drop me some emojis. Want to show both of you groups of people some love. Today we're talking about lead magnets on this episode. Today's show will be going live on the 11th of July. Today on the podcast, in Apple Podcasts and Spotify, we talk about how to coach in groups, and I share with you everything I know about creating a group coaching program with engaged clients that are responsive, that are helping you to run a highly engaged program, both like at the high level of running your program and even at the lower level of what you do on group calls. So if you're not already subscribed in Spotify, I always want to call it Shopify, in Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can go to pod.link/clients and you can find it in your favorite podcast player. That said, let's hop in and let's do this. Hey, what's up? Jeremy here from whatupjeremy.com, back with another episode of Client by Client. Thank you so much for tuning in today. In the last episode of the show, we talked about this little cheeky strategy you hear me and other coaches doing of DM me this word for this resource, for this thing, for this training. And so what we did in yesterday's episode is we unpacked, does this work? If so, why does it work? And made a case for if you should or shouldn't be doing this or doing this more or less as an online coach. So if you're looking for some hot leads, you already have a social media platform with some friends and followers that are your target market, be sure to head back to episode 61 so you can understand the entirety of it and you can make the decision for yourself if this is something that you should be doing or that you shouldn't. In today's episode, we're talking about how to make a killer lead magnet. If you don't get today's episode right, there's really 2 things that happen. The first thing that happens is that you get leads, like your lead magnet works and it pulls you in and generates some leads, but none of those leads book calls. None of those leads go on to become clients. And that's frustrating because you put all of this work into making something good. You spent hours, maybe even a week or 2, maybe more, on making this really good lead magnet, and you're just feeling like you wasted a bunch of time. That's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is that you start thinking about running ads to it. And there's no worse of a thought, especially if you're a coach doing under 30K consistently every single month, because ads are tough. They're most definitely not cheap, and they make it really easy to mess up and not know what to do inside of the platform. And at that point, not only have you now wasted time, you've also wasted a ton of money. You still don't have clients. You still don't have leads that you can nurture into becoming happy paying clients. So now that we know what happens if you don't get this right, let's talk about how to get this right and how to dial in a killer lead magnet for your own business. First, your lead magnet must be problem and pain centric. It should do everything in its power, and you should do everything in your power to make your lead magnet focused around the number 1, 2, or 3, no more, problems that your target market is experiencing. I'm talking about in the naming of it, in how you open up the paragraph, in what you talk about, and how you close it out. Your prospects, while they want solutions, they're thinking about their problems. And until they're properly educated on the cost of the problems, what happens if they don't get those problems fixed, what possible solutions there are to go through, and all the decision energy that needs to go into it, they're never going to know what next step to take. So your entire lead magnet, from the label that you slap on the front of it to what you call it to how you allude to it, it needs to be focused in on pains and problems. Part of my mission is to help you simplify your online business. And a lot of you guys want to flex your expertise in your lead magnets. You want to give your best stuff. And you often hear me and other coaches say, put your best stuff in your lead magnets. You hear us say things like, your free stuff should be better than your competitors' paid stuff. And what will make your prospect, let's talk about this one human being, what will make them unable to not consume the whole thing, to where they're sitting or standing and downloading it, to actually go through and read every word, or to watch every second of it, or to go and do the thing like download it and actually use it. It absolutely has to be focused in on their pains and their problems. They should leave feeling better because you described what they're living through, what they're dealing with in their life or in their business, depending who you help. And they should already have a sense, because when you get this right, without talking about the solutions, something magical happens in the mind of your prospect. Their shoulders get a little lower, they can breathe a little easier, and they already feel better about the problem that you just drilled down and talked about in your PDF, in your magnet, in your masterclass, in your training, in your guide, in your checklist. And they'll feel that way because, gosh, if someone knows, this is subconscious, if someone knows this problem so well, they must also know the solution. Anyone ever had a problem and they felt really alone, like they were the only person in the world with that problem? And then someone on TV, someone in your social circle, somewhere out in the wild, you hear someone with that same problem. How do you feel? Do you feel worse about the problem, or do you automatically feel better in just knowing that you aren't alone? Without talking about the solutions in your lead magnet, it will create this sense of, okay, I found someone who knows the problems. And if they know the problems, they have to know the solutions. The coaches who get the lion's share, the majority, the overwhelming majority of the clients in your space are the ones who can speak to the pains and problems of their target market without getting into the solutions, without getting into the 1, 2, and 3 steps. And they stay in this zone, asking questions, never talking about their own stuff when it comes to the prospect actually getting on the sales call. Another example of this. And then it's all centered around, how much longer do you want to have these pains and problems? Whether you ask it like that or not, it comes down to, what are these problems costing you in comparison to actually having them solved? What does that life look like when you have them solved? And so thing number one, your lead magnet, from the name of it to the opening paragraph to what you say in the first sentence of the video to everything you have and in your follow-up sequence, if you have one. You don't need one. You don't need a landing page for your lead magnet. Let's just get that out of the way too. It has to be focused in on specific pains and problems, on the number 1, 2, or 3 problems that your target prospects have. Thing number 2, there's an inclination that I alluded to a second ago of wanting to put your best stuff into your lead magnet. The truth is, your best work should go into what you deliver for your clients. And then what your clients love the most about your program, you should take that and turn that into your lead magnet. But let's talk about how to actually do that logistically. You see, you're dying for your prospects to know that you have the goods, that you have the chops and the skills to help them. You're dying for that. You feel like if they know that, they're going to hire you. But that's not the reality. People will not hire you because they think that you are the best, that you have the goods, or that you have the skills to help them there. Because the reality is, there's a lot of people in the world that can. People buy from people that they like and trust and that they respect. In order to create that effect and to not get them the solution so that they just are fine off on their own and not needing any of your help, it's important that you include know-how. Right now, you're thinking about your know-how as your skills. I want you to include know-how. You have to remove the how, the 1, 2, and 3 steps from your lead magnets and from your resources. So a second ago, when we started point number 2, I said that your best work and effort and energy should go into what you deliver for your clients. And whatever your clients love most of all of that stuff, of the worksheets, of the downloads, of the trainings, of the resources that you give them and provide them, take one of them and you should refashion it into a lead magnet. And all you have to do is metaphorically take scissors to it. And what you want is to take out the steps that are inside of it. And what you're left with is you are left with the why and you're left with the what. Let me break this down into quadrants. Think about a square with 4 quadrants. On the top right, that is the why. Underneath that, on the bottom right, that is the what. So why is why this is important. Why is if you don't get this right. Why is when you get this right. The what is, what are we going to be talking about? What are the core principles that you must know in order to internalize this? What are the models that are going to help you get leverage across this problem and to actually have it solved? You started up at the top right. We worked our way to bottom left or bottom right. Now let's go 1 to the left to bottom left. We're in the bottom left quadrant, square 3. This is where you would talk about how. This is where with your clients, they get the worksheet and they're filling them out. This is the first thing you do, second thing you do, and third thing you do. Clear? 1 square above is next. What to do next. You've learned all of this stuff. Now you know how. What do you do next? So all you're going to be doing is cutting out the here's how to do it and the what to do next. And what you're left with when you've taken your scissors to that training, to that resource, to that module that your clients love, you're left with the why and you're left with the what. You're left with why this is important, and if you don't get this right versus if you do get this right, and you're left with, here are the important components that you must understand. Here are the models that go along with it to really get this right. When you do this, there is now an obvious gap created. And that now creates room for your prospects to come closer to you, to consume more of your content, to open that next email that you send out, to actually go to your group and to watch a training that you referenced in that magnet. Thing number 2, do not include the how in your magnet. Stay problem focused, stay why focused and what focused. Don't give the steps and don't give them what to do next. That is saved for your paying clients. This also creates the effect where a lot of you guys, when I say these things, you think, well, my clients are going to get upset. No, your 2 clients are not going to get upset that you're trying to go and get more people into the same program that they are. They're not. And if they are, those aren't your people, my friend. Those aren't the kind of people that you want to attract. Those are most definitely not the kind of people you want to work with over the longevity of your career. What this will do is if you go and post about it and talk about it on your story and you share this in your group, what you'll find is that your clients go and give love to it and they testify. They leave their thoughts and their testimonials about those things. And now everyone else on your list, in your group, in your audience is seeing how much of a fan your paying clients are. And now your prospects are saying, wow, this guy has clients, this person, this coach, they have other people. Think about what that subconsciously says for them. If they were worried at all about you being a fake, a fraud, a copycat, and any of those things, all of those thoughts are now gone. And guys, what I'm trying to do is set you in a whole different category than most other coaches. Because what most other coaches do is that before they get clients, they make a killer lead magnet that's well designed, that they paid someone in Canva to do really well, that is multiple dozens of pages, and it's their life's work. But they still don't have paying clients in their program. And because that guide is so good, number one, and it's so long, their prospects aren't ever going to read it, never giving them an opportunity to actually follow up and have all of those subconscious thoughts be had by their prospects so that when the coach follows up, so that when you follow up, all the hurdles are overcome and all they're wondering, your prospect is like, I'm 99% sure, can you help me? Can we figure this out together? Is now the right time to do it? And what's the investment? And when you're having these conversations every single week and then every single day as you grow in your business, this is where the game changes. The first thing you have to do to make your lead magnet killer is it has to be focused on problems. Building off of that, you're not going to solve the problems. You're going to talk about why, which is if they don't get this right versus if they do get it right. And then you're going to tell them all the things they need to know in conjunction, any models, any diagrams, any components, any 5 key things, any 5 key tips for getting it right. And then this allows for you to get into thing number 3 of how to make a killer lead magnet is it has to create a gap. We talk a lot about like your prospect being on one side of the cliff. There's a big gap in between them. And then on the other side of that cliff, on the other side of that Grand Canyon they're looking at with the big chasm in between them, is everything they immediately want and their future aspirations. This is why I advocate for you in your content to stay problem focused and to also, furthermore, to understand what they immediately want and their desired aspirations so you can talk about both of those things. When you talk about their current fears, when you talk about their current frustrations, and then you also juxtapose what happens if they continue down this road and how frustrating those things become, right? And then let's start that part over. When you talk about your prospects' frustrations, what they're going through right now, and then you juxtapose their fears, what happens if they continue living that life and not doing anything about it, this creates a little bit of urgency, a little bit of like, tell me what to do. And then when you skip the how and you get over to the other side of this is what you want right now, you're frustrated and this is what you want, right? You don't have any leads and you want some leads. You don't have 6-pack abs and you at least want to feel like you're losing weight. We talk a lot about helping single moms get their high points. So I'll leave the chat open and I'll be on the lookout. You got to tighten things up, my friends. This episode, way better than in my head, I knew this was something we had to talk about. talking in these hypotheticals that we've been going into together, I hope it's clarifying even more from you, or even more for you. It has me feeling better about it for you. So I hope you're feeling better about it too. Book a call, join your group, when you do that, I'll ask you a couple questions about your online business, your vision, and your goals. And then I'll share with you what we have coming up this month and how we're already helping other students in the program, like Henry, who got 8K worth of new clients in the first 30 days, or like Juan, who's set to have a 65K month in August.